Yo, what's up, guys? Back with another episode of Aim with Purpose. Here with my man Andrew Kim. It's been a
What
long
up?
time coming. Went to high school together, but now we are back rekindling 4 to 5 years. See how it's been going down. We got a list of topics we're going to talk about today, and they are all going to be based around things that people our age are struggling with, continue to struggle with, and ways that we think they can do better, and different viewpoints that we have that may vary from time to time. How you feeling, man? How you feeling?
Pretty good about you, man.
I'm just ecstatic to be here, bro. We're in a new studio, as y'all can probably tell. This is different than the Aim with Purpose studio.
Improvised.
Yeah, much love to it. Maybe we can bring it to here permanently, but we'll see how it goes. First topic to get into, not to waste y'all's time. A lot of people have very vast motivations, very vast, big things that they want to accomplish in life. And for some people, it starts at a really low level of going to the gym for a month straight, going to the gym for a year straight. What do you think is the biggest thing that deters them from keeping up the consistency that it takes to do great things?
So it starts with your dream, right?
Yeah,
You gotta have a very big dream.
I agree.
Not a lot of people know that. They start off at a really small level, right?
Mhm.
Because when I was talking to my cousin, I was asking him, hey, like, what are your plans? What are your dreams out there, right?
How old is he?
He's 22,
Okay.
right?
So
He's like our age, yeah. And I asked him, like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to live at? Like, what are your big dreams that you have? Bro, this kid said, I want to live at the Mosaic, right? I'm like, that's it? Yeah, it's like, yeah, I want to live at the Mosaic, live at a one-bedroom apartment there, and I think I'll be set, just have a car, a wife, and that's it. And I just looked at him, and I was like, that dream is so small. It's, like, so easy to get,
So
right?
small.
Yeah. And for me, it was more like having a penthouse in New York City, having multiple businesses around me,
Mhm.
having a community that I can reach out to, teach,
Mhm.
or, just, like, learn from, right?
Yeah.
But, man, like, when I heard his dream, I was just like, if there's people out there like him,
Mm-hmm.
right, isn't that, like, kind of miserable or, like, upsetting to you? Like, that's how small their dreams are, and there's so much more to life out there.
Yeah. Do you
Right.
think that in order to have put a higher ceiling on what you can achieve, you have to first get to that first stepping stone that you thought was big at one point? Because I think the ideology that he has, I had too. But the thing is, I had it way earlier. And so now that me and you both are at that point, or at least in his eyes, we're at that point for him, it's like, well, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Kind of like the conversation we had the other day where it's like, you went to the Marines.
Mhm.
At this point, there's nothing that is stopping you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And so I think, that until he has that undeniable proof that he got to that one point, he can't necessarily think further than that.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's all stepping stones at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, and I don't know if you probably do know people, because we, know people our age, where they think, the next step, but they also put that step as something that's so much higher than where they are now. And it's like, it's a grueling process to get there, where it's like, if he really wanted that one bedroom in Mosaic, bro, he could be working every single day, whether it's on TikTok Shop or like making a different income or like doing this, doing that, getting promoted faster, or he could get there super quick. But if he gives himself that time horizon of like, well, I'll get there eventually. It's all I really want. You know what I mean? It's
I
like,
guess the biggest thing, right, is most people don't understand if you do the impossible, you can never doubt yourself again,
exactly.
right? But their mindset is so small, and like the things that they want are just so small and so easy to achieve that they forget that life has more meaning than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some people are just meant to be that way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Especially corporate people, 9 to 5. That's the way they want to live, by all means, right? But there's people like us that want to achieve something more greater than that, right? Or something that's actually like what we're super passionate about in life,
Mhm.
right? But yeah, like for my 9 to 5 life, dude, I meet people that really don't have aspiring dreams, a passion, or even a purpose, right?
Mhm.
Like our podcast is called Aim with a Purpose.
Mhm.
Most people don't have a purpose because, society treats us or teaches us from the very moment we're born, right? we go to school, we get good grades, we go to college, and then what? You get a good job, right?
Mm.
And then what do they tell you after that? Invest in a 401k or a TSP if you're in the military. And then what's after that?
Mm.
You retire at 65 or 59 and a half, right?
Which is so long.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
so
why do you want
long
to
into
work
life.
your entire life, right? Be miserable your entire life. 9 to 5 sucks. You don't have any work-life balance, right? You can't go out and do whatever you want. You can't, like, just do anything because you're so stuck under someone, right? Because you're working for someone.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that's just my thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I just don't like that life at all. Like, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want that life either, right?
Mm-mm. And I think that once again, it's like that exposure therapy.
Yeah.
Once I got into the more, I would call AWS pretty corporate. Once you get into that corporate life, or at least I did, everybody around me, you know, has a mortgage, has a family, has a car, or a car payment, has, like, they definitely have a car. Got a car payment, yeah, I got kids, they got college to think about too. And so it was like they're in such a survival mindset of like they have to take care of these responsibilities in terms of a monetary equivalent every single week, every single month. And I think the biggest thing for younger people to understand is to limit your external responsibility, so that way you can focus on capitalizing on your youthful inspiration or motivation, or I mean however you want to really word it, but it's in terms of like you will literally be chained in good ways and bad ways by the responsibilities that you get yourself into. You could have been celibate, you could have said no to the girl that wants to marry you, you could have moved closer to avoid, you know what I mean, like there's just different ways to go about it. And so yeah, when you're younger, keep the responsibilities as low as you can, so that way you can make the most out of your own individual being. That was a great question from my man Sean.
So I think one of the things that most people don't understand right now, right, or there's a very few percent out there, right, that understand that making money is super easy.
Yeah.
The reason I say,
because we see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even see it, but it's just super easy to make money, right? But people that go to college, all they care about is getting a job first, right? Instead of, hustling, right? That's a mindset. And it's kind of stupid in a way how easy it is to make money, because if you look on TikTok, right? If you go on live, bro, there's motherfuckers out there, right?
I think I know where you're
that just
going.
do dumb shit.
You talking about the NPC streams?
Yes, like thousands of fucking money just being an NPC out in New York City, or fucking just acting dumb as fuck on camera.
Yeah.
And they make thousands off of that, right?
Yeah.
Or even managing OnlyFans or SMMA or e-commerce or anything like that.
Yeah.
But there's so many like influencers that also make a lot of money just by being on a live, or competing against, like we're about to win this race, and it's like a line of how many gifts they get, right? And that's how they get a lot of money.
Yeah. Or the sleep streams.
Yeah. And the difference about them and I guess it's traditional people is that the traditional don't want to put themselves out there because they're too like scared, or they're too like, it's like cringy in a sense.
Yeah.
But bro, it's money. Like I'd rather do that shit, no homo, but like, than fucking work at 9 to 5 every single day, be miserable. And I'd rather just do what they're doing, make a boatload of money doing what I like really love doing, right? So that's the thing, right?
Oh, don't get me wrong. It definitely takes a certain type of person to go on Instagram or to go on any social media, just like you said, expose yourself, and to just repeat words in a robotic voice that people tell you to say for money. And it's like, it's all like a matter of like, the whole thing of like selling your soul for money. And it's like, I personally believe that the money is the root of all evil. Look, there are morally good ways to provide value and to be paid for the value that you provide. And then there's just the immoral, degenerate ways of kind of getting money for putting people in a worse place than they were when they came across you.
I guess the biggest thing about that is reputation. Right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you can go one way where you're a complete degenerate.
Yeah.
Make a boatload of money, but then your reputation's kind of ruined, right? But the other way is like, you still make the same amount of money as them, but you do it the like good way in a sense, where you don't ruin your reputation, but you keep it and it gets better and better, right?
You're respected by.
Yeah, respected.
Yeah,
right?
respected by the masses.
They're respected, or it's like they're fun to watch in a sense, where it's not fucking like cringy or like, yo, this guy's a degenerate sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like, shout out to my boy Edward, like him, right?
Mm-hmm.
For him, he built his own personal brand based on the content he made, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing about building your own personal brand, right, is that he has like what 1.2 million followers, I think, on TikTok, and then something I don't know how many followers he has on Instagram.
And a bunch of subs on YouTube too.
Yeah.
Like in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, and the way he's able to monetize, like for one example, is his clothing brand, right? He doesn't use ads or anything.
Mm-hmm.
He organically built his own personal brand with the followers he had, the content he was making, and was able to sell out pretty quick,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know that because one of my boys bought his products, and we were just waiting in line just to get his product, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's one way we can do it. Or you can be a complete degenerate, and I don't know.
Because there's a trade-off too. Because the OnlyFans model can't run for president. She can't run for public office.
Yeah, they can't.
She can't. You know, I mean, it all depends what kind of company you're trying to run. But she can't run certain companies because who's gonna do business with someone who, you know, used to sell their body online? Yeah, sell their body online. So I think there's definitely a sacrifice that has to be made, and you have to understand, like, there's certain things that once you make that turn, like once you turn that corner, there's really no going back.
There isn't.
And for good and for worse.
Yeah.
But on that, thank you, Sean, for that one. That was a good one.
Let me ask one. Right.
Okay.
So the podcast is called Aim with a Purpose, but what does that mean to you? Like, what's the definition of purpose for you?
I think the definition of having a purpose is having a goal or a mindset within yourself that gets you out of bed every single day, regardless if you feel happy, sad, sick, you know, excited for what's to come or doomed on what's to come. There's something about having that backing of whatever happens, I'm going to express for the moral good of everybody around me. Because I think that is like at the very, very bottom of the hierarchy. That is what our purpose is as human beings, is to just provide value in a sense where I help you help yourself up. And there's an exchange, a monetary exchange, a relationship exchange, or a literal bargain for me doing that to you and you doing it to me, and vice versa. So I think to aim with a purpose is to aim at the highest thing that you could possibly achieve, what we just talked about. And while you're going through the fulfillment of that goal, you have this underlying purpose that sends you into a state of less temptation and distraction, more discipline and consistency for the greater good of whatever the purpose is. And yeah, bro, I mean, I think if anybody needs to hear that, our age, older, because I think it's even weirder when you see people in the older age and they're still kind of with that lossless, I am a slave to my responsibilities, but I don't really care to help everybody around me. Like, I think it's more sad in a way because they're already more, I guess, ingrained in their values, so it's kind of hard to change them. But anyways, yeah, for any young person and older people too, it's like that is what my motto is for everybody else, if you haven't figured it out yet. And I think you wouldn't, like, people know if you figured it out, because there's a different type of drive, there's a different type of body language, there's a different type of conversations that you have with people who are serious about providing value in the highest possible way. So that is what Aim with Purpose is in a nutshell to me. And that's kind of like what this first step in doing that for me personally, like Aim with Purpose is a brand, but like my aim with purpose is to obviously do this, branch off, and do everything I just said.
Sounds good, man.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't get that. I get it a lot when people off camera ask me, but for anybody who doesn't know, that is like what it means to me personally. Just aim at the highest thing and then back that with a purpose that is in good faith.
Okay. All right, let me ask a little fun debate question, right?
All right, I got you.
Would you rather have $1 billion or wisdom, right? Because I posted that on my story.
Yeah.
And 43% said $1 billion, right? And the other, like 53%,
Yeah.
said wisdom, right?
53 said wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay.
53%, right?
Yeah.
So that was like 28 people and then 35 that responded to that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to know everyone's mindset on that, right? And last night I had this one heated argument with one of my boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Started off at 11 p.m. and it kept going until 2 a.m. about why having wisdom is a smarter choice than having $1 billion.
Yeah.
This guy kept saying, "No, dude, $1 billion is way better than having wisdom," right?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of tells you what kind of mindset they have about things,
Yeah.
especially about life, right? Because for me, it's wisdom, right? The reason I say that is because with $1 billion, can you buy wisdom? No, wisdom is priceless, right? But with wisdom, you're able to achieve $1 billion or more with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I figure that a lot of people that are lazy in a sense would pick $1 billion because they don't really care about the journey, right? They don't really want to know how to get there. They just want it, right? It's instant gratification, like I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But with people that want wisdom, they understand that it's completely priceless, right? You can't buy with money. You can't buy with power or anything, right? And that was the most important thing, like, of my life that I kind of, like, noticed. Because the past 6 months, it was more of me trying to figure out my life again, right? Because I went through some stuff and realized that I needed a change.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know where to start. I didn't. So I went back to how I was before, which was, going out late, partying. But I didn't see that as, like, a purpose in my life, right? It was fun, but it was just, like, instant gratification again, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the day after, now what? It was temporary satisfaction at the end,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you don't really feel like you did much, or what am I like?
You don't see progress going.
Yeah,
forward.
you don't see progress going forward.
Yeah.
You're just going out partying, and the Monday to Friday you're working, but Saturday, Sunday, or Friday and Saturday you're
Mm-hmm.
out partying, wasting your money, and everything, right? And there's no room to grow.
And there's a feedback loop.
Yeah,
right,
there's a feedback
right within
loop.
that.
Yeah, and what people call the rat race.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so in First Kings, you're Christian, right?
Yeah.
First Kings chapter 3 verses 4 through 15 talks about Solomon and God, right? Because God came to Solomon in a dream, and he asked him, or Solomon, saying, "Hey, I'll give you anything you ask for. What is it?" Right? Instead of asking for riches, instead of asking for power or status, what did he ask? He asked for wisdom, right? Because he understood that wisdom was priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And God was very pleased to hear that. And not only did he give him wisdom, but he also gave him riches and honor along with it. Right. So that's why I think wisdom is a lot more important than just $1 billion. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because with wisdom, bro, you can make probably more than that. Right.
Yeah.
You would know how to invest,
Mm-hmm.
Build businesses, or use that money to make more. But if a degenerate just got $1 billion because he's fucking lazy, what's the first thing they're gonna do? Spend it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or spend it on dumb shit.
Trickles back up to the top.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that was the kind of question that I wanted to ask you, right?
Yeah. I think, that's a great point too, that it'll direct you in terms of, well, before I get my thoughts all jumbled, I think wisdom also helps you know what not to do.
Yeah.
And I think people who are given, you could take like an heir, for example, like a Rockefeller child or like a Vanderbilt child, they get a lot of money. They don't see the importance behind what their parents built or family built. So then they go and they spend money on goods and services that don't benefit them in the long run. It's just kind of that temporary whatever. They don't know that that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And they don't know, not because of how much money that they've been given, but because that they're just naive and they're young. And so I think to have, because that question is more of like with wisdom, you like there's a simultaneous relationship. I forget what that word is. Correlation. There's a correlation between wisdom and age. So I don't think, or wisdom and experience, not necessarily age, because you can go through a lot within a short amount of time.
Yeah.
You can learn a shit ton from it.
Yeah, you can.
And so, or you could be more reserved in life and go through those trials and tribulations 1 to 5 years apart, and you'll still get there. You'll just be a lot older. So I think to have a shit ton of money and no experience is dangerous, because it, like I said before, one of the biggest things is you don't know what not to do. You don't know that you shouldn't be in the club flexing $10 million, $100 million, whatever it is. You shouldn't be doing that. Now, the guy in the back who has that in the bank, who's just sitting there sipping on his martini, he's looking at you thinking, this kid's an idiot because he doesn't understand X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't understand because he doesn't know, you know what I mean? So to have a situation where you can become more aware of just how the world works, you got to take that every single day of the week. Because like you said, not only will it help you make more money because you know the patterns and the way people think. Like, imagine if we went back in the day to the 50s and how they used to market things, and we brought how people market things now and brought it back then. Bro, like, you talk about selling an iPhone in the 50s or selling something as big as the iPhone in the 50s, just based on like how marketing works and how psychology works, it's game over. So I think if for the friend that wants $100 million, if you think to yourself, okay, well, if I was born in this time frame, I would do it differently. You have wisdom. Mm-hmm. So you have a reference as to what should be done for the greater good of whatever it is that you're trying to prove a point on. Yeah. So, yeah, wisdom will, I mean, like, you gain wisdom the quickest when you do things and then are negatively impacted by it. Like, because you know damn well, like, all right, I'm not stepping anywhere near that. I think one of the biggest examples that I have was my very first job. I was at Popeyes. Yeah. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking to myself, like, well, I'm only in high school. I still got, college my whole life ahead of me, so I probably won't be here. But at the end of the day, like, there's 50-year-olds, there's 60-year-olds, there's 40-year-olds that work at Popeyes. And I'm seeing these people around me. So I thought to myself, like, it's not age that really separates me from these people. It's just a matter of what I will not succumb myself to do, what I've learned around me, being in it, that I know I will not want to be here for the rest of my life.
So it's the environment, right?
The environment. Yeah. Like I said, I don't think age does have an aspect to it, because I would hope, and a lot of people aren't like this, they're very sheltered, but I feel like you gain more experience through your age. But that, needless to say, I mean, you've probably been through a hell of a lot more in 4 years being in the Marines than I have in the 4 years that I've just, not bounced around, but like went to college for a little bit, got my job. Now I'm working my 9 to 5, just doing that, learning here and there. But
so I don't think it necessarily pertains to our age. Environment's definitely the one thing, right? Yeah. And your mindset is the other, and the types of relationships that you have, right? Because if you're in an environment that brings you down for what you're trying to do, you're in the wrong place, wrong time, right? But if you're in an environment that people want you to do better, or like people want to see you grow, right? And they want to grow with you, mm-hmm. then you're in the perfect area, right? Same goes with your mindset, right? They basically correlate in a way, mm-hmm. Because if you have people around you that support you, want to build with you, dude, you guys would together as a team would want to learn more, right? That's how you progressively learn and grow, right? And then the relationships, right? I believe that by the time you're 23, I think every person should have the 3 types of relationships in their lives, which is, number 1, a mentor. You need a mentor, because that mentor has already done the things that you want to do, right? So he's already been through the trial and error.
It's like secondary wisdom, kind
exactly. Yeah. And so if you find him, you go through the same thing, the same path that he went on, and ask him questions and see like what he's doing that you're not doing, right? What he's doing that you are doing, okay? Second one is your peer, like a brotherhood or sisterhood, right? You need people around you that are doing the same thing as you or have the same dreams as you, that want to get to the same place as you, right? Because if you're around people that, have different goals, different visions, it's gonna really like hinder your growth. In my opinion, it does. Especially
not to cut you off, but especially how if you're involved a lot with those people day to day.
Yeah.
If you have your own goal and you're still seeing your friends, I'd say on like a high school schedule, so you're probably seeing them like 3 or 4 times a week, which for me now that would not be possible.
Yeah.
But some people are, and I think the more people you bring in, it kind of fades your own vision,
Yeah.
because we're still young, and whether we like to believe it or not, we're still impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
But
like the brotherhood I'm trying to talk about is not the brotherhood that goes to parties all the time, that does drugs all the time, sex party, all that shit, right?
mm-hmm.
The brotherhood I'm talking about is, for example, my group of friends, we all hang out, but what do we talk about first? Hey man, how's business doing? Hey, how much money have you guys made? Bro, my friends have made $100,000 every single month from their cannabis and edible industry, right? Because they're the only number one company, or they're the only company in Virginia that's legally able to sell edibles or anything infused with THC or CBD, right? And they're FDA approved, which is pretty good. Yeah, right.
Shout out Quan and Co, man. That's
I know,
crazy.
right? And those are the people you have to be around with, because all they care about is about improving in their life and growth, instead of being stagnant and comfort, because comfort is the one thing in your 20s that will kill you, right?
I agree. Yeah.
It will destroy your dreams. It will destroy the way you want to live in life, right? Because you're so comfortable, you don't want to take big risks. But in your 20s, that's all about it, right? You have to take risks in your 20s to grow, okay? And what's the definition of growth to you? To me, it's about realizing that all my excuses, or realizing that I'm just tired of my excuses, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
If I don't want to go work out, bro, that's an excuse. Just go do it, right? Because, like, when's the one time, or have you heard anyone say this, where they're done working out, but they regret working out? You don't.
Never.
Right? Never. That's not a thing.
Even if that person was sick when they started, or they felt like
they feel
shit when they
so
started.
much better afterwards,
Yeah.
right?
Regardless.
Yeah, and that also correlates to some aspects of your life. I'm trying to say this in a way that kind of understands or makes sense. Let's say how you treat your fitness or how you treat your health directly correlates to how you treat your business.
Yeah.
Right? Same goes with how you treat your girl or how you treat your mans. It directly correlates to how you treat your customers, right? So the way you live will directly correlate to what you're trying to do, right? So if you're at a bad place where you're treating other people wrong, bro, that's directly going to correlate to how you're going to treat your customers at the end, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, that's like a food for thought.
Yeah.
The second part of the types of relationships, I already said that. The third part is actually a mentee, right? Why do you need a mentee? Because that person is going to keep you accountable throughout the entire process.
Is that someone that's next to you or someone that's below you?
Someone that's usually below you,
Okay.
right? You're about like 2-3 steps higher than above them, like in terms of levels.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's my little brothers or people that are trying to learn or try to get out of where they're currently at. Right. So for example, for me, I built a company called Tactic. Okay. And the whole purpose of that company was because a lot of service members were getting out, but their purpose was entirely gone with it. Their vision was gone, and they were just so lost in the sauce, right? So the reason behind that is because for 4 years, they signed a contract saying, hey, I'm going to be an infantry marine, or I'm going to do communications or be a guard, for example, 4 years straight. And in the military, that's called an MOS, right? And for 4 years, that's their entire job. That's what they have to live by. That's what their entire purpose is, right? But you can't be and as soon as that 4 years is gone, you can't just like go in a civilian world and be like, all right, I'm an infantry marine, I'm going to go kill motherfuckers now in civilian side. No, you can't do that shit, right? But you learn a lot of like, in the infantry, for me, you learn a lot about teamwork, how to lead other people, how to communicate well and efficiently, how to do things in a proper manner, and discipline, right? And there's a lot more that go into it. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of people struggle transitioning from the active duty life into civilian life, right? So my purpose in my company helps them by saying, hey, I'll teach you how to graduate college in less than 2 years, right? Because that's what I did. I graduated college in 2021 with 2 bachelor's degrees in less than 2 years, right? And I was still in the Marine Corps. Not active. I was activated for training in a sense, right?
Okay.
So it wasn't active duty. And during that time, I finished about 90 credits in 9 months, which is equivalent to 3 years. and then the last 30 credits was on the university itself, right? And I teach service members how to do that in order to find a purpose later on after they're out, right? Because the way that people were doing or going with life at the time was they spent 4 years in the military and they spent 4 years in the university, right? So let's say you're 18. 4 years later, you're 22, right? 22, you go to college. 4 years later, that's what, 26, right? And as a 26-year-old, your clearance is probably gone, right? That's one thing. And you're competing against 22-year-olds, right? And in a corporate section or life, if you're going to apply for it, you've lost your gain of advantage immediately. In my opinion, you did. Because number one, you lost your clearance, right? And two, you're kind of a little bit older, but you still have the same, like, equal level as a 22-year-old based on experience. Depends on it's
applicable
a bit
experience. Yeah.
It's a bit biased. You can agree or disagree. Because it's 20. It all depends on what you do after that transition while you're in the university. Let's say you like do a lot of internships, companies or anything, right? But it all depends on the person at the end, right? And for like, what I'm trying to say is that as a 22-year-old that just went throughout the traditional college life of frats, internships, or, you know, just studying all the time versus a service member that just got done with college at 26, had some real world experience in the military, but doesn't have a clearance anymore, but maybe had some even more experience in civilian side. Like, which one would you think would be more competitive at the end, right?
Yeah, the military.
That's like kind of a debatable topic. Depends on what you do again, in a sense. But what I try to do is, by the time you're in 22 and you're at a university, you've completed university as a college kid versus a guy, like let's say for me, 21 with 2 bachelor's degrees, a clearance, Marine, active world experience, which one would you choose? Right? Definitely the guy with more experience, right?
Yeah.
And not only do I say the guy with more experience, I say that because when I was getting interviewed at EY, a lot of the interviewers were prior service members. That was a big plus for me, right? Because the questions I will ask them at the end, because they always ask you like, "Hey, do you have any questions for us?" And that's the most important, right?
Yeah.
I asked them because they're officers. I was like, "Hey, like I understand you're a manager at EY, and you're also a captain in the Army, right? What kind of leadership, like, experience do you see similar? Oh, what kind of like similar and like different experiences do you see in the civilian side and the military side?" I asked them that, and they were like, "Oh, like I've never been asked that question before in my life," right? And they tell me, and immediately I ask them another one that's even harder and harder, and that's where they kind of like you in a sense because you're so like into them. And that's what they want, right? Yeah. They want people that can connect to them very well. In a sense, you're supposed to suck them off. No homo. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
For
you gotta get the job.
Yeah. For every interview, you gotta suck them off, right?
Yeah.
No homo, but that's what you gotta do. But yeah. And so my company basically helps people to do that.
Yeah.
From step 1 to where they need to go, right? There's also a hedge fund connected to it with investment bankers that will also teach service members how to invest in stocks. But if they're too lazy to invest, they can just give the money to the investment bankers and they'll do it for them. There's also a retirement portion of it where we offer 401ks, TSPs, Roth IRAs, whole life or other life insurance products out there just in case they need it. Because there's something called the SGLI. It's basically saying it's a life insurance for service members. It was $400,000, but now it's $500,000. But that doesn't transition into the civilian side. If you want it, it's called the VGLI. But yeah, that's basically what my company does for all of you guys that are watching.
Damn, talk about providing value. I think that's like that's awesome. First and foremost, my family are former service members, but bro, yeah, I think to kind of if anybody's gonna take anything away from this conversation specifically, it is that the key to all business and the biggest businesses provide value.
Yeah.
Provide a increasing amount of extrinsic value that leads to your offer being so good that they feel like they're missing out if they don't involve themselves with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, bro, I 100%.
Thing to add
Like
to that,
that.
it was it's a line from Alex Ramosi. He said, "You got to make an offer that they'll feel dumb to say no to."
Yeah.
Right.
No, I got the book. Trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that
dude,
book.
he's such a good guy, dude.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, like all his books are pretty good. The way he teaches entrepreneurs.
Oh,
Good.
bro,
Yeah.
I think, I was listening to one on the way over here, and I think one of the best things that he does is, he's talked about it too, so I don't want to harp on him, but like, he just breaks it down real easy. And it's like business can be this whole complex thing with like legal side and, the relationship side and lawyers and this, that, whatever. And he's just like, listen, it boils down to X amount of things. You've done these things, whether you want to believe it, you did it or not, you just weren't conscientious of it. Yeah. And then now it's to the point where, making it analogous to things that people already know and, carrying out with that. That actually segues into my next question for us, which is, 90s, 80s, even coming up into the 2000s, before I would say social media and the idea of marketing on social media really blew up. For my parents, like for me, when I was growing up, it was either you do college or you do the military. It's one or the other. Yeah. So you got to make a choice by the time you're 18. And so for me, it was like I was military. I was going to join the Coast Guard for, I'd say, the back half of high school. Yeah, about the halfway point. And then it came around to like actually going to MEPS and doing the whole process. And I like shit my pants, scared. I was like, well, I don't really know what I'm getting into, but I don't know about college. But anyways, ended up going.
You went to MEPS before?
No, I was about to. Bro. I was about to.
So the one thing that they make you do at MEPS, right, is that they make you spread your butt cheeks, bend over, and cough in front of the doctor. Don't know why, but yeah, that's a thing.
It's a is it a hernia? It's a something test. It's a test. All right, we back. Okay, so kind of briefly touched on this, but there's a million different pathways now to not only make money, because making money, it is what it is, arbitrage of value, but to continue to make money. I think that's, an aspect that our generation doesn't really hone in on, because it's like, I made $10K a month using this Shopify store, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. And it's like, yeah, I did that the first month. I'm shit out of luck now. So it's like there's a million different ways that are now possible.
I just think that people don't know what money is, right? I don't think people know what money is, how it's made, what it can do, right? I think people have a lack of, let's say, financial literacy, right? Mm-hmm. It's a big thing.
So let me finish that, because that was a great point. The lack of financial literacy. Yeah. Do you think because now it's the information age, so we can read anything from a college textbook that people are paying, millions, or not millions, thousands, millions at some point, but thousands of dollars to get access to. We can find it online for cheap. Mm-hmm. The gap, there is no more gatekeeping information. So with that being said, because there's no longer a gatekeep of information for the masses at whole, do you think that now allows people to be more successful outside of the normal college and military route? And if, those two, because I think those two still do provide value. College, bro, the longer that we go on, college in terms of value versus, input, like the fields itself is really narrowing down. Like I was CS, I still technically am CS, so that's STEM. My thing is like, if you're not going STEM, like I don't really know what you could really get a return on in terms of like a max return. And even then it's like I said before, with the bridge being so low between entry of even something as small as starting a business. Like Aman Ghazi is a great example too. Like he was a young ass kid running ads for companies just local, and then that just compounded into $1 million a month. So what do you think, like, how do you think people can hone in on deciphering which way to go when there's so many different avenues for them to go about it? And do those original avenues still provide the value that they once did?
I mean, honestly, you can learn them all, right? But choose one, right? It's the commitment and the consistency that always works, right? Because there was a graphic that I saw, or an illustration of the amount of progress you're doing with when you multitask a bunch of different streams of income versus one, right? It's good to have a good knowledge of all of them because they all can correlate to each other. For example, e-commerce and copywriting, right? They work pretty well together. But you just gotta like see what you're super passionate about and see what you're pretty good at, and from there you can expand, right? But I think that most people nowadays don't understand that starting a business is pretty cheap, right?
Yeah.
It really is cheap.
Yeah.
Compared to back then.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But most people don't know that. It's either that, or they're just too lazy to start one, or they're too scared of taking risks, or they're just scared of what other people would think about them if they fail that business, right? Bro, that's all. Like, being an entrepreneur, you're never gonna succeed at everything, right? You never will. You learn a lot from your failures, right? How many light bulbs did it take Thomas Edison to make?
Facts.
Right?
How many times did Elon have to default before
Exactly.
he hit?
Right? They just kept going and going and going, right? So that's the biggest thing. Just keep trying multiple avenues, approaches. Find what you're super passionate about. So find something that you're really good at, which also kind of goes towards your purpose, goes back to your purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, just start in a sense, right? Just anywhere. Just try something out. If it doesn't work with you, and if you're not super passionate about it, bro, just try something else. Just keep trying. We're young, so just learn to take risks, right?
And I think the whether it's external, worldly factors, or it's in your own individual life, kind of what we talked about the other day, is like you can never be in a point where you feel so helpless that you're too afraid to try anything because you don't want to give it enough time. Like, I have to have, naive optimism that the world is going to be somewhat stable for the next 10 years. So that way this can flourish into something great. Yeah. I just have to have it. Because if I think, oh, well, I'm not going to do this because, this might happen or that might happen, shit I can't control, then that stops this altogether. So I think, social media too, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different pluses, there's a whole bunch of minuses, but don't ever think that, or if you're going to think that, okay, my dream or my business or my goal has, we're all impacted by the things that we surround ourselves by, but have it be as disassociated from those things the best you can, if that makes sense. Like, regardless or online business is a great example. People still need to make money. Still, people need to put food on the table. When COVID happened and everybody's inside, like, online business, it's like their model, whether they were selling candy in a mom and pop shop, now they're selling candy online. It's like you can't think like, oh my God, if I lose this mom and pop, rental space, then I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So
going from that on, I think the biggest reason why most people don't try to take a risk or try to start a business or anything is they care too much what other people think about them. Yeah, right. I
agree. It's hard. It's hard sometimes.
It's hard, but it's your life at the end. You're the main character of your own story, right? And so what? You have all these people fucking saying, oh, like, he's not going to do it, or wow, that's cringy, blah, blah, blah. Bro, fuck them. They're losers. What have they done with their life that you haven't, right?
They're not even above
exactly
who you're trying to get to, or
that's
who
what I'm
you
trying
are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. Like, why do you, like, in your mind, why do you care so much what they have to say about you, right? And when you talk to other, like, mentors in a sense that I have, or like all millionaires and stuff, I ask them, like, hey, do you guys care what other people think about you? The answer is no. Like, why would you? It's your life, right? You're the only one that determines where you go in life, what you can achieve, and what you can do, right? But that's the biggest thing. Most people are too afraid of to start because of other people's opinions,
Mhm.
right? Which doesn't make sense. Like, why are you scared? Just do it.
If you're confident in what you believe in and how you're gonna get there, then I mean that's the biggest thing for me is like you can't be afraid to lose people because like you suddenly now have something that they don't agree with. It's like at the end of the day, you probably shouldn't have been next to those people over a longer period of time because it would have just bred more animosity or whatever. So I think coming to be your full self and express yourself and all of your interests and all of your niches, that brings the right people around you. I think Joe Rogan is a perfect example. He is an embodiment of the things that he's interested in.
Yeah.
And look at we could call him superstar status, the superstar status of people that gravitate towards him. I don't think those people as successful as, Elon, Hormozy, any of those guys, they don't go to Rogan necessarily because like Elon's thinking, okay, well, I'll get exposure, the media can, this helps Tesla. It's not like what am I getting out of this? It's like Elon probably likes Joe because Elon likes Joe. Like it's not
the value that he brings in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you can't be afraid to lose people based on your own opinion because you'll end up meeting someone through your new opinions or through your tighter conviction on your opinions that, is just better for you and how you feel.
And you know what's the funniest thing about you becoming successful at the end? They try to come back in your life and try to be like, oh, I always knew you can do it. Bro, no, you haven't. You haven't been there. Like, you were talking shit all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the biggest thing. Like, once you made it, then they start trying to be your friend. Right? But the boys around you that have been there since day one, bro, those are the people they have to care about and always have to be provide for. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because with my group of friends, if one of us makes it, all of us make it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works with me and my boys.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you just gotta find people like that.
Yeah.
Right? Who cares what other people say? They'll try to come back in your life. But nah, fuck them. You already have your small circle. You don't need a bigger one.
Yeah.
Right?
For my friends too, it's a little bit of I don't just like to get on each other, but like if they tell me at this point, nah, bro, this animal purpose shit, it's not gonna make it, and like it does, I don't look at them like, yeah, bro, I told you so. Like they're probably gonna still say the same thing, like, yeah, bro, I still think that's X, Y, and Z, and I respect them for holding that opinion. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like it didn't bother me then, and it doesn't bother me now. Difference could be, my position doesn't change for my friends because they don't switch up. I'd rather them just be completely and 100% honest with me. Yeah. Like, I don't think that's a good idea at the start of it versus whether it's successful or not. Like, they tell me the truth. And, yeah, bro, if you don't have people that aren't telling you the truth, then...
There was a quote that said, if they don't like what you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, because you're going to piss somebody off with, like, strong convictions in any aspect of life is going to just upset anybody else. Yeah. The way that I live my life through faith, it probably annoys someone else, even though it has nothing to do with them. But am I going to back down to that? You can't. So I think it's the same principle. You just have to apply it on a wider range or something that has a bigger impact on you, like a business, for example.
So let me ask this one question, right?
Yeah.
It's regarding the faith or Christianity at its mouth or any religion out there, right? Why is it so easy for people to accept, like, for example, Lil Nas X with demonic things?
Yeah.
Who else is out? Who else would you say? Something similar to that.
Doja Cat.
Okay.
It's a big one. Yeah. I think The Weeknd. The Weeknd's weird, bro. Weeknd's very weird.
So why are people so easily, like, able to accept that kind of personality characteristic or any sort of that nature rather than Christ himself?
And this might be a hot take, but it is what it is because this is just what I believe. And as a Christian, I see it too within, people that go to church. And I think the narrative for the outside world or the majority of the world who isn't Christian and how they view Christians is that we are non-confrontational, non-violent. We pray to who we pray to and we await the return. That's the MO. Now, You think the MO.
But what happens if God doesn't give what you prayed for?
Well, at the end, I mean, that's a shower thought for sure. But the way that I see it, and this is just like what I've had to come to terms with, especially because I'm actually getting baptized tomorrow. But
Congrats, man.
Thank you, bro. Everybody on earth is going to go to the grave believing something. That is what they based their beliefs, their thoughts, their habits, everything that they've done in their life on their deathbed. They're going to end up being like, well, this is now the sum of it all. So for me, I would rather go through life basing my habits, actions, thoughts, morals, everything around something. Once again, I believe, it's a personal opinion, that I believe is just the utmost good faith. I can't critique what Jesus did. He did what he did. And for me as a person, I want to be nothing short of that. Now, I will fall short a million times to one, but the point is, that is what I'm going to go to the grave believing. So whether or not it happens, I mean, bro, that's faith. Think about it. It's like I'm believing the Bible 100% is like I'm believing that the Bible is 100% real. People will believe that, the articles and publications and everything about, let's say, dinosaurs, for example, is real. So whether or not you're wrong, I'm right, we weren't there when that person said that it happened X million years ago. I wasn't there when Jesus was getting crucified on that day, which is a documented day for all of you that don't know. It's not even a Christian thing. It's a Roman thing. Everybody knows. Point is, we're all taking each other's word for it. So to come at someone for this whole like, well, I don't believe it because as if you know any better. Like, that's the thing. It's like you're going to have to base your beliefs and morals at the end of the day on something that I also just read. And it's like whether you feel connected to it subconsciously or not is up to you. So I think to bring it all back to the world, not necessarily like, and I think that's because of the nonviolent culture that comes from being a Christian. Now, I think that's a good thing. Love thy neighbor. We know that. Hate the sin, not the sinner. And
what did Jesus do when what did he tell us to do when we get slapped in the face?
Turn the other cheek.
Exactly.
And so, like, even, like, it doesn't make sense to me when people, like, want you to stand up for yourself, or they expect that you're going to stand up for yourself, but then when you come at them with like the same conviction and seriousness that they come at you with, it's like, whoa, bro, like you got to relax. And it's like I think one of the biggest things too is like this whole pronoun thing. Like, I'm gonna call you what I see you as, because at the end of the day, like, you're telling me to tell you something. You're telling me to call you something different, but I know damn well in my head, from my head to my toes, that you are what I see that you are, and I know that God made you as how I see you. So I'm not calling you anything else, because that's disrespecting what I believe in. Now, as far as like, oh, well, you can't say that. It's like, bro, you're telling me to call you something different. Like, I don't know what's crazier here. Like, I can't be made out to be the crazy person. But yeah. that's one aspect. So I'll let the public, go crazy with that. But that's just how I feel, and that's how I'll go to the grave. And I think that, there aren't violent Christians to begin with. So I think if there was ever a religion for, the elitists or the satanic people, like, I think if there was any religion to go after without a literal mass riot in every record label studio, in front of every arena, in front of every famous person's house, it's Christianity. Because think about it, they don't do it with any other thing. They don't. What was that thing in Brazil, bro? Where they had like a religious parade, and they had like a statue of Jesus, and people were like throwing trash at it. The next day, the whole town's flooded. It's like,
I don't know. That's the first time I'm hearing that.
Yeah. It was in Brazil. I forget when it was, but I'll show you a clip. But anyways, it's like there's just what I'm getting at is they mock one thing. They mock one religion because they know they can get away with it. They don't do it to anybody else because they're afraid of the extreme backlash, and rightfully so. Because if Sexy Red goes on her next song and says, F all Islamic people, it's like she's living in a lot more fear than if she's like, oh, F those Christians who just want to, do whatever. Not that she would ever.
The Jews too.
And exactly, that's another thing too. It's like there's certain religions that they don't touch.
Yeah.
And it's like why they don't touch it. I personally believe, once again, my personal belief, that it's because they're afraid of the extremists, not because they truly care to have an educated debate on I think differently than you do.
Yeah.
Because that could just be portrayed so much more respectfully. I personally just hate the disrespect that the outside world gives us for turning the other cheek. Because I think that's where it all comes from. It's like, why would I fight back? I mean, that's the thing. I know it, but it doesn't. There's like an ego pride to it, because it's like, you're not taking me seriously, but I'm serious enough to know that I shouldn't hit you back. But it's like you won't learn any other way because you're just as ignorant. Like, it's hard, but I think that's the biggest thing, is that they're afraid to piss anybody else off. But we're the easy target. So we'll all go to the grave believing something, and I'll stand on the fact that Jesus died for my sins. So,
None of that.
I mean, yeah, I can't, like, if people can believe that you could be called XE and XIR, and I'm going to the grave believing what I believe in, it's like, bro, you have literally like about a toenail of room to call me crazy. I can't believe it, bro. I truly can't. But hey, that's just the world we live in. And when we're the land of the free, we also, and that's the thing, bro. It's like America is the land of the free. We believe in freedom of everything under the sun. But the caveat with that, and I don't even think the founding fathers thought this because they didn't think how effed up the world would be now, is freedom decreases your tolerance. So America as a whole, we tolerate a lot of stuff that the majority doesn't agree with. And we can't tell those people that you can't do that here, because they'll come back and say, well, this is the land of free. I can do what I want. So one nation under God. Under God. So if you don't seem to think that you are under God, which is a good place to be, but if you want to be defined about it, then go ahead. We, at the same time, next to that line is home of the free, home of this, home of that, home of this. So it's a sticky situation, bro.
And what I believe in is the fact that, number one, God is good. All right, all the time, God is good. 2, His plans for you are far greater than the plans you have for yourself, right? But you don't know that, right? Most people don't know that.
Nope.
So if you pray for something that doesn't make sense for the plan that God gave you, bro, he won't make that happen, because He has far more greater plans for you, right? And I think that's a kind of mindset that you gotta have, right? Because if you pray for something and it doesn't happen, or maybe you just have to wait and be patient, because God teaches us to be patient, right? Just wait, right?
Yeah.
Something better will come in your life, or maybe what you ask for comes in your life, right? But just wait, do what you have to do, keep praying, keep believing God, and the rest is history. Because what's the chief end of man, right? The chief end of man is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. That is our very purpose in living, right? To Christians, for us.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
This topic is super important, not because of, we're telling you, or we're giving our opinions of what we believe and why we believe it. But a lot of people, bro, they don't believe in shit. And it's like, if you don't believe in anything and you seem to think that everything around you is just like normal, oh, it is what it is, bro, like you need a reality check, like real quick.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able, kind of like I said with the tolerance thing, it's like we breed this sort of, oh, whatever, as long as it doesn't impact me. Well, if you keep thinking like that, you're going to alienate yourself so much. Then it's like, well, now I don't know, because you never took that time to really sit and think about it. Moral of the story is believe in something, and ideally have it be good. Like, I feel like it's kind of weird that we have to tell people, like, hey, what you believe in is a net negative for society, but yet they still do it. So, yeah, I don't really know what needs to be said to those people. Obviously, you could bring a horse to the river, but you can't force it to drink.
Yeah.
So people change their opinions the most when it comes from people that they trust and love, and through their own, most of the time, powerfully emotional experiences, whether it be trauma, whether it be a near-death experience, or both of those combined, or loss of a loved one. There's things that you go throughout your life that really kind of, your mind shuts off everything else, and you focus on, wow, how is this making me feel? And how you deal with that feeling is ultimately where you'll go in life, and how you'll deal with things going forward.
So one of the questions that I got was, from a non-physical perspective, what surprises you more people our age aren't doing?
I think a lot of people our age, and I'll use a little bit of a buffer, so I'll go with 25 and below. Because when I hear people are 25, like, you could either be, and it comes down to wisdom, experience versus age. You could be light years ahead of me, you could be right next to me, it doesn't really matter. But 25 and younger, mass majority, pick up a goddamn book and put some time into reading it. Books are a very, very good way of, like, direct instruction, because when you read something to retain the information, that's why I said fictional books are a little murky water, is like, when you read something that's nonfiction and you want to gain something from it, you have to put all of your focus into that, and you have to really, on top of your focus, you have to put internal focus into it too. So you have to, like, calm down whatever's in your mind. You gotta turn off your phone. You have to do a lot of things to just sit there and be like, okay, I'm reading this because I want to learn about this, so that way it can do this. And there's a plan with reading books. There's an intention behind it. So that's one thing. I'll let you go into it too, but I think that's the biggest thing, is people need to read more books for the betterment of helping them understand things.
So we're all guilty of this, right? We all go on YouTube and search for maybe a high income skill to learn, or something to learn in general, right? But the more you watch every single video, do you see that every single creator repeats the same kind of information, and there's never something new?
Yep.
But the moment you pick up a book, right, from a successful entrepreneur or someone successful, right, there's more value in that one book than that 30-minute or 20-minute video.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, it is.
Yeah.
Right? And with videos, like you said, for me, I'm more of like, I learn more when I take notes.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
So I watch videos and I take notes, right? But with a book, what I normally do is I skim it really quickly, just have a general idea of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I read each chapter and try to understand what he's trying to talk about, what he's trying to say to me, right? In a sense, what he's trying to teach me, right? And that honestly makes you think a lot more, in my opinion, than a video. Because video, they just like, hey, this is what you do, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. There's no thinking about, like you said. But with a book, you kind of train your own mind to see what they're trying to teach you, what they're trying to tell you, in a sense.
Because you have to apply context.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? But with these videos, it's more of like your dopamine hits out of nowhere, and you're just like watching it, and you think you can do it, but there's no really any thought process that goes along with it compared to a book, right? Now, that being said, I got to keep reading more books, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I'm curious, like, for what you think. Do you also believe that books is one of the biggest things that, we'll say men and women, because I think regardless of who you are, whether you're trying to evolve your mindset or just kind of, learn new things, books are the way to go. I would rather someone say, hey man, like, I haven't started a business yet, but I've been reading all these books, can you help me X, Y, and Z? Rather than, yo man, like, I haven't started my business yet, but I've watched, like, 100 videos on this, and this, and then you give them, like, kind of a real life, like, okay, then we're gonna do this, and this, like, what do you think of this? And they're like, I don't really know. So
with videos, it's more of a how-to tutorial, right? It's a basic tutorial of how to do a business, or, like, let's say for e-commerce, like, hey, this is what you do, blah, 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 how to create a website really fast, and you first implement all those first, right?
Yeah.
The
exactly.
books,
stop at one, and then
the books teach you the fundamentals of business itself.
Yeah.
So they teach you how to run a business, how to do this and that the videos don't even teach you. So first, what I would do is I would watch the videos, do the action first, and then pick up a book that either relates to the business, or the niche, or just anything in general about it,
Mm-hmm.
and just learn more from that than the video. But you actually learn the most from business by actually doing it,
I agree.
right? And with a book, it teaches you how to get to the next level. Because most videos, they don't really teach you how to do. They don't really teach you how to get to the next level, but rather they teach you how to start it.
Yeah.
Right? But the book is more of like an extra kind of extension to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what I would do. It's the same thing, like just start, right? Just take action and just keep going. Never quit.